33% of viewers have had to sell possessions to make ends meet. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because I want to talk about this poll results that I've found. About 33% of people or viewers of the channel have had to sell possessions to make ends meet, everyone. Now here's the figure, 33% said yes, they had to sell possessions to make ends meet, and 67% said no. That's a significant chunk of the population, everyone. Now, make sure you watch till the end, stay till the end to get a five-step solution to get financial control. I don't just want to dwell on the negative, I want to have positive solutions to get out of it. So stay to the end for that one, guys. Now, what prompted me to do this? I was reading an article about Before Pay. Their share price was crashing. And this is like another buy now, pay later, or, digital money lender. Borrow against your wage type of thing. Loan shark, pretty much. But, your limit that you can borrow is $200. We're not talking about a lot of money here. And I covered this in a video. And in it I said, why are people selling or borrowing $200? Okay, it can be enough to get you through a tough time. But you should be able to just find stuff around the house that you can sell. If you're desperate for $200, this really is a business that is providing a service to the really destitute people. And if you're using this in this situation, you need to get control of your financial life. So I thought, okay, I'm going to ask how many people actually have done that. Because is it me being boomer and old-fashioned, thinking that you should sell your stuff to do it? Or is the danger here that by having access to these type of things, people aren't going to go through the humbling experience of having to sell their iPad or their laptop or their electronic devices or whatever they have, their car or their TV, just to get by? Because sometimes that can be a really good slap in the face to get things under control and say never again. So I thought we should have a look at the viewers of the HeiseSays channel, because they're the majority of the people who were responding to the poll, to kind of give you a bit of an understanding of, the validity of this poll, everyone. Now, this is showing you the geographic spread of the viewers. Most of you are watching from Australia, 78%. Then you've got the US at 5%. You've got Great Britain and New Zealand at 3.1% for 3.01 for NZ, 2.66 for Great Britain. We've got Canada at 1.63, and India and Singapore and Malaysia. That should be 0.66. I'll update this, guys. But it just shows you the spread. Majority of the respondents are Australians, and I'm assuming we've got a whole lot of expats around the world. I know some of the viewers in Germany are expats and that type of thing. So let's look at the gender split here. 12.1% female, 87.9% male. That's pretty typical for YouTube, everyone. And we can have a look at the age range there going, we've got a few people, 18 up to 65 plus. And you can see the majority of them looking at generational demographics. And I tried to kind of twig these numbers here with this. We can see the majority of you watching are technically millennials. A lot of us are geriatric millennials. We've got some Gen Xers, which are pretty much equal to boomers, and some Zoomers. So that's kind of the breakup of the channel. Majority male millennials, but you got some boomers there, a healthy chunk of Gen Xers, and a couple of Zoomers, and most of you are from Australia. So that, I think, can give us a bit of a good insight into the numbers here that we're getting. Now, the poll. I asked 7 days ago now, have you ever sold your possessions, TV, mobile phone, clothing, to make ends meet when times were difficult? And please share your stories and advice below. 33% said yes, 67% said no. It was conducted on YouTube on the 20th of the 1st. We had 1,815 votes, 44 likes, and 70 comments. So 1,800 votes is a significant number. You can draw some conclusions from that. Now let's jump over and have a look at some of the comments and stories that people have shared, because there's some really good ones here. There's some quite good ones, and I enjoy going through them. So what we'll do is we'll sort by the newest first. Come on, newest first. And you can still vote on the poll, but after about a week, it kind of, I've got other polls that are appearing and kind of take the spot of it. So here we have Deep Dude. This last year, I sold all my clothes for me to be able to cope with the medical expenses and travel to take care of my mum. I just have less than 7 outfits to wear. It's been hard. I don't know if that's sarcasm or not, because how many of you blokes, how many of you can get away with wearing the same stuff over and over again? How many pairs of shoes? Actually, I've got a lot of pairs of shoes, but it's because they all fall apart after a couple of years. But then I've got to get rid of them. I should do a clean out. But 7 outfits seems like more than enough. It seems like tons for a bloke. The British Indian. I did a few of those things when I got into minimalism. I sold my TV and any excess stuff in my apartment. I've never looked back. Now, I have a fantasy of living a minimalist life, and it is completely a fantasy, guys. It is never going to happen with all the kids that I have, but, you know, it is a fantasy. Never get the chance. Everything either breaks or gets stolen by my junkie family member. So, Funk Buster A, that's pretty tough. Someone sold their surfboard. Alania, I mean, that's it. That's something, you know, that's something that will hold your value, something you love. It's really good for you. It's exercise. But you got to do what you got to do. When getting my degree at university, from Kurt, I had to sell many items to scrape through. Now the government has mandated me out of a job after 4 years of university and 10 years of teaching. There you go. When you work for the government, guys, that's the risk that you take. If you've got 10 years of teaching experience, look at starting online tutoring. Look at starting something else, an alternative income stream. And we'll talk about that in the 5 steps. So, Kevin Rudd. Never, I just balanced overdue bills and took up a second job. Worked 4 a.m. to 1 p.m., then 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. or thereabouts each day. Got ahead, saved, then found a job in finance, which meant a bigger paycheck cut. Stayed to build my CV as long as I could, then went from an accounting firm into commerce and got an 80% pay rise by changing jobs, saved a lot that year. There you go. So, I mean, here's the thing. Everyone's complaining about wage increases not going up. But really, if you want to get a wage increase, you need to jump from one job to the next. It's never mentioned in any of the articles or anything like that. You've got to leave often. Gord. Never had to sell to begin with, really. Only bought what I needed. When times got hard, I just did without any luxuries. Not being a smoker or drinker or drug taker most probably helped, or at least it seemed to in comparison to many of my friends who were. Smoking and drinking and substance abuse, it adds up really quick. Particularly smokes, guys. We looked at the cost of smokes and how you could get a house. If you bought a carton of smokes a week, you could afford a mortgage for like $375,000, and you can still buy property for that. Bipolar Bear. I do sell items when I'm finished with them, baby items. Clothes, not to make ends meet, but I just don't need them anymore and I want some extra money. I mean, that's a good habit to get into. Tristan. I propagate rare, variegate plants and orchids, so it's never been a problem. I also don't live above my means, use a credit card, or buy seasonal or trending fads or decor. Having a hobby that fills both time and can be a financial aid is something that was more common years ago and unfortunately is not so popular. It's kind of a hobby can turn into a side gig. Starting to see a trend here. Winston Smith. I was hitching around Oz when I was 18 and completely ran out of money. I landed a job but had to work the week to get paid. I hocked my watch and few other possessions to get me through. That was 40 years ago. No mobiles or credit cards then. I feel I'm almost at that stage again now. Christoph, thankfully, I haven't been in that situation. Sam, sold my electric bike to fund a trip to Southeast Asia. Best trip I ever had. Does that count? Now I like that, because how often are the banks trying to sell you home loans or personal loans to fund trips overseas? I did that back in my uni days. Probably was a mistake. I have never got to that point for off-roading for Oz. Chris is going, I literally walked a cash converter's guy down to my storage garage just a few doors down from the converters and said, how much for all of this? Sold everything, ended up with a single bag of stuff, living on the streets for about 6 months. You'll find that the people will often go through tough times when you get to this point. Hopefully it's turned around for Chris. Well, it has only 6 months. Anything I don't need, they went directly onto Gumtree. Now, I sold stuff on Gumtree. I bought stuff on Gumtree. It's, like the Trading Post. Remember that? Got to all watch the Castle guys. I sold my 24-karat gold necklace and pendant at the pawn shop. We got $80. We needed money to buy food. We also sold the TV and DVD player. Sold my $3,000 sewing machine for $750 just to make ends meet. My husband sold his MacBook just so we could pay off the mortgage. You've got to do what you've got to do. And this is where, when we're talking about interest rates going up and having an impact on the housing market, people are going to do whatever they can to keep in their house. They will do what they can to make it happen. You just got to hold on long enough for things to turn around or for the government to come to the rescue. Thomas, yes, but most things aren't worth the time and effort to sell secondhand, or they're just rarely worth much of anything. It also depends on where you live when you try to sell your possessions. And that's a really good point there. How often, I mean, do people have garage sales anymore? I don't see them when I'm driving around the weekends. But how cheap is stuff now? The last time I did a garage sale made hardly anything, at $20, guys. And that was tools. Gordon, not quite selling to make ends meet, but I remember physically aching for things others had that I wanted but could not afford. As an engineering student, loaned to the hilt to pay tuition, for which my parents paid the interest, there wasn't anything left after food and the occasional clothing. I learned about a police auction for recovered bicycles. Put in lowball offers for items that needed work, items that would get no bids. I won several, fixed them up one at a time and sold. Combined with a part-time waiter job, had enough after 9 months to buy the Sony hi-fi I wanted. The electronics are long gone, but I still run my PC sound from those speakers 29 years later. And I think you learned some valuable lessons from that too, Gordon. I mean, I've pretty much kept all my computer stuff until it dies now. You don't need to upgrade as much anymore. Remember when Pentium 3 to Pentium 4 or 1,000, 1 gigahertz, those days? I know one bloke that is in a perpetual loop of getting a job, buying a PlayStation, chucking stickies to play the PlayStation, getting fired, selling the PlayStation for food. It's been like this since PS3 came out. No one can stop him. I mean, that's just nuts. That's immaturity, what that is. I'm planning to do a video on the whole anti-work movement that's happening on Reddit, and I put a poll that I'd like you to participate in, asking people why you think that's happening, why people are attracted to that. I think this is an example of someone who's quite immature. And, PlayStation games, they're just all first-person shooters. There's not even any strategy or thinking on the console games. PC all the way. Scar, not yet, but if these mandates go until 2023, then I will. Thailand Discovery, when I was a younger man, yes, lol, geez, I hope to never be in that position again. And that's the thing. We've all made stupid mistakes, or a lot of us have. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with accepting that and, learning from it, everyone. But that's the thing. You've got to learn from it. If you're just making the same stupid mistakes again and again and then blaming other people for your problems in life, well, what's the point then? You're never going to learn, are you? So, Mr. Stoney called. With a currency system based on debt, inflation will ensure you have nothing in the future for generations to come. Well, that's why you buy assets that retain their value, that have utility and use. Hence Australia's obsession with housing. Aaron, I'm always wheeling and dealing stuff. It's a way of life for me. That started in my teens fixing up BMXs. This move to motorbikes and cars. Trailers are a good money spinner for me, easy to weld up and always in demand. Now, that's an interesting one. Welding up trailers. There you go. I mean, you're right. They always would be in demand. You can make some decent coin on a trailer too, I imagine. Madam Butterfly. In 97, partner was out of work and I was studying full-time. Had credit card debts. That seems to be a recurring thing. Had no family support. We were selling our possessions at cash converters, leather jackets, jewelry. We even moved into a garage because it was cheap. It was freezing in winter. Your water into a bottle would freeze. He found some work washing dishes in the Indian restaurant for $5 an hour. Eventually, we both found work and got out of the rut. That shows you. That's the thing, guys. You've got to get ahead. And this is the advantage of them staying together. That's when you're married, guys. You want a wife that puts up through the hard times as well as the good times. That's a good test of a relationship there in many ways. Most people fight about money. That's the biggest thing people fight about. Meatball 3000. Never been out of work since I was 16, even backpacking around the world for 4 years. Found something to get paid to do, so he hasn't experienced it. Jackson. I lost my retail job in October 2019. I was living week by week. I had a collection of $2 coins that I held off for so long because I knew the collection was so valuable. I got to breaking point where I was literally starving and it was the only money I had. When I was a kid, I had a Sega Dreamcast, played the shit out of it. This was in the days of dial-up, pay per minute. The bill was hundreds. My mother sold it to cover the bill and I had to save for another with my paper round. That's a very good lesson to learn right there. Selling things now. Job's about to go due to refusing the vax, returning to the UK for now and want to travel light. I mean, I don't understand why people, particularly shipping stuff around now. Say you were hiring a container to send to the UK. You're not talking $1 or $2 grand. You're talking a lot more money. Wouldn't be worth it for a lot of the stuff. Simone, early 22, just moved to Brisbane, had nothing, no job, no money, no government benefits, was sleeping rough in the car in the summer heat in an old ZJ Fairlane. That was on the last legs, and I knew not one person, and that was depressing. Fuel light came on for the car, and I thought, great, I'm screwed. I've not been eating for a week either, so I could not even go back to where I came from. And I have way too much pride to ask for help. Saw a pawn shop, driving on the last dregs of fuel, wondering how do I get out of this situation. And by the way, there were not a lot of jobs either. So I went in with anything I thought was of value. Xbox, mobile phone, VCR, car amp, sold it all for $250. All the items were worth a lot more. I think I paid $699 for the Xbox alone. I used the money until I finally found work. There you go. You got to do what, Simon, you've got to do what you got to do. Does say Simone. There you go. It's French. You got to do what you got to do. That's it. All of these things, all of these electronic devices. I mean, are future generations going to miss out on the humbling and learning experience of just having to sell your stuff that you worked so hard for pittance because they can get their $2 cash advance? I did live out of a skip in Europe when I ran out of cash. German skips have top quality food inside. Well, there you go. Sold my guitar music equipment to pay for my car registration when I was a poor student. Car registration. I remember when I got a car re-registered. For us to save money, we just had one of the cars sitting, didn't register it for a year, didn't use it to save cash. That's one way when we were doing real tough. Just really cut everything we could to save money. And then I remember when I went and I had to buy a new plate, get a roadworthy, all of that, and then I had to pay this bloody registration bill, and I went to Queensland Transport, and it was just after the politicians handed out free money to all the civil servants a year or two ago. Yeah, that really made me happy. They're getting $2 grand free money and I have to pay for the privilege of driving my own car. Awesome. So a really low point was living off £20 a week, $9.50 for groceries and $10.50 for a bus pass. Every other penny went to bills and rent. Couldn't find work. Even emptied my coin bin, which shrapnel kept me going for a couple of weeks. In the end, binning the spending misses. There you go. Move to other countries where there was work, develop more skills in different fields and industries. Granddad used to say, a financially rich man is not someone who can make money. It's someone who can hold on to money. And that's a good one there. And here's the thing. If, you and your missus, or you and your partner or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend, you've got to be on the same page. If you're living together, if your finances are commingled, you've got to be on the same page, or digging out of these type of messes is not going to work. Learning from the garden said, buy only what's really needed and use it for as long as possible, so no need to be in trouble. Yeah, I mean, that sounds good, but some people have to go through some tough times to learn that lesson. Intellectual gladiator has never come to that for me, but with so many people mortgaged and leased up to their eyeballs, I think we're going to see desperation like we've never seen before in the coming years as hard times hit. I don't think it will be as significant as some people realize. There'll certainly be some, and we'll see them all in the ABC articles, guys, 100%. The Karen, our favorite lefty, you've hit rock bottom when you pawn your toothbrush and your underwear. This is the thing. Why does a leftist own their own toothbrush? It should be communal in the commune. Come on. But yeah, you're right. You've hit rock bottom. I'll give you half of that one. Ashley, don't buy expensive things which have, I'm assuming, a low resale value, and minimize the chance of running into trouble in the first place. And that's right there. My mum would say you get what you pay for. There's a place to buy quality goods. Yes, and I'm trying to have a look here behind me. Hang on. Like my leather bag. I paid significant money for that as a kind of a reward for myself when I won a national prize. But I intend to hand that down to the kids. The problem is I've had too many kids now. I can't go to one. They'll have to fight over it. Not environmental. To own a house, lived in a shed, sold all I had, rented my house, and it was damaged by renters, got little compensation, had to sell anything I could, so bank didn't take my house. Lesson is, rental system is so skewed towards renters, don't rent as soon as possible. Sad situation, but 15 later, good renters punished. Bad renters allowed to continue, so not surprised rent is so expensive. Feel bad for young workers. My repayments are now far less than rent. Now, sharing some of we've looked at this before, just the horror stories of renting out to people. This is why I like real estate investment trusts, because there's all that stuff that's a pain to deal with when you're renting to people, everyone. King, yeah, I sold my house so I could get dental work, Australia. Now, that can't be true, can it? I'll be brutally honest. Ever since we shifted our diet, our need for dental work has pretty much disappeared. I haven't had a hole in my teeth since 1988. Rachel's teeth used to crumble every time she was pregnant. Literally, they would crumble. She'd have to get emergency root canals because her body would be sucking everything out of it all the nutrients. And she went, ketovore, solid as a rock, not a thing for the last few pregnancies. That right there tells me, there you go, the standard diet, it's bullshit. So, Heather Thomas. It's more that I've not been able to replace things when broken. Try convincing teenagers that playing board games because the TV has broken will be fun. Lasted for 3 days. Yeah, that's true. Let's go. Sell everything, you'll be happier and you'll own nothing. Well, in a way, that's true. That's true. You don't want your possessions end up owning you, to quote Fight Club. Jason. Not yet, see what happens in the future. If the World Economic Forum has their way, you'll be happy and own nothing. SDB Plumbing. The things you own end up owning you. Okay, that's a proper quote. Good, yeah. I sold a lot of what I had after a divorce to get back on my feet and support my 2 babies in 2020. That happens. The only people who win in divorce, I think, are the lawyers, guys. They're the only ones that win. Bronson the Cat. Back in the 90s, when I was an apprentice, just random electrical items. Do I miss them? Not really. Was out of decent work for a while and a rut a couple of years out of school from Daniel. Work was giving me less hours, but definitely wasn't an ideal applicant for another job at the time. A wannabe hippie, lazy addict. Started owing rent, couldn't eat much of anything quality. I had a bunch of expensive photography equipment that I sold, and having to do this gave me the kick up the arse to start sorting out my life. Lived off this money for 3 months while I worked at changing my situation. Went through a period of more ups and downs, mistakes and lessons learned. Sad to sell my camera gear at the time. A sort of symbolic wave goodbye to a loved hobby. But looking back, the lessons was worth it. Now I could drop the same amount of money on that camera gear if I wanted to, and it wouldn't hurt too much. It'd sting, but I have savings enough to live comfortably for a few months. Not perfect by any means nowadays, but definitely progressed a lot. If anyone is anything like me, I find, unfortunately, that I learned the hard way. But the hard way learns you good. Edit, if you learn this way, lean into it and extract as many lessons as you can, and hopefully you can begin to learn from others' mistakes rather than having to make your own mistakes, which is very true. Excellent, honest comments, nicely put. Everyone likes this one. There you go. Read and sell. I left high school and night school in TAFE, was free then. Age 15, worked on a farm doing stuff like building cattle fences. Later on, with a mate, I got a start in an abattoirs, but wasted a few years chasing the memories of liberating offal from work. Creamed corn with Vegemite soup and vague payday party weekends. I got into electronic service and eventually moved into a well-paying, highly regulated industry. Doodle hasn't done it, but they've had to unload shares. There you go. There's the other thing. If you have to sell your long-term investments, that's the advantage of shares. You can do that. You can sell a portion of them if you just need a bit of extra cash. It's different to a house. A house, to get money out of quick, well, you may need to borrow against it or sell the whole thing, and there's costs in call. It's a nightmare. Snera. I haven't bought junk for years, so I saved money in the first place. But now I don't have any junk to flog off if times get tough. Most people are in a shit situation because they bought junk in the first place. That's it. You've got to realize what junk is. And here's from Chris. This is a real sad one, guys. I had to postpone his wife's surgery. It was hard. She waited 12 months more before finally getting the boob job. There you go. I thought that was good. Kidding, most of us, including me, haven't seen hard times, but they're yet to come. In a way, that's true. We really haven't had it that hard in Australia in the last 28 years. Only buying assets and sell liabilities. Hello there is saying, sure have, apprentice electrician. Not living at home and also doing electrical engineering degree. Cut back on food, going out, etc. At one stage, lived in my car till I managed to find a share accommodation. Now, 18 years later, life is sweet. Having my own business and all is good in Danistan. Congratulations. Someone thinking apprentice sparkies earn a fortune. They don't really, guys. Apprentices, don't really earn that much. Coming to Australia as a refugee in 95. Started with nothing and times were tough along the way. You have to do what you have to do to make ends meet. I can see the hard times returning very soon, as we have had it way too easy for way too long. Benjamin was lucky enough that every time I got into difficulty, had enough funds in my account until I got a new job. A new year. What are with these using names? Just use your bloody names, people. All you weird ass names. Come on. So, when I was hard up for money, I cut back on my expensive hobby. I did not go flying for about a year. Rob, purchasing premium products or vanity items can pay off if you need to sell it early enough in the cycle or even later. It's what it is, just don't get attached physically to things. The willingness to let your most prized possessions go to pay a bill in a crunch is liberty. There you go. The unwillingness to part with a material possession just makes you a slave to your vanities. So I thought that was some good comments and feedbacks, guys, just to see the experiences that many people have, particularly those that have had to sell some of their possessions. But let's move on and let's talk about some solutions. If you're in this situation, if you're having to sell your possessions to make ends meet, you've messed up. You've got to get your finances under control. Let's not dwell on the negatives. Let's look at some solutions here, and then more people you can give me your feedback on these in the comments, guys. So I've got a 5-point solution guide that I've put together here, kind of like what we have done ourselves in our family. So number 1 is complete a financial deep dive. Now I've looked at other people that have made suggestions and developed systems and we'll talk about Pape and we'll talk about Ramsey, but none of them, they kind of wash over this one a little bit. But this is a deep dive. Then is develop a spending strategy for at least a year. Attack your debts, track your cash flow, and generate passive income. So what do I mean by completing a financial deep dive? You want a deep dive of your income and expenses, everyone. You want to go through your bank and credit card statements for at least the last quarter, if not longer, and just find out where every dollar went. See this slide here? See all these the Facebook things here, guys? See these? Facebook. You know what that is? That is when my Facebook got hacked. My business Facebook got hacked. It was linked to PayPal. It drained my PayPal account with this bullshit advertisement, then went on to my credit card. There you go, guys. So I actually had to... PayPal wouldn't do anything. They would not stop it. I had to go to my bank and block PayPal from having access to my bank account. So there you go. Can you tell who I prefer now? But you want to... And I didn't discover this because I did a deep dive. I just thought it was an interesting story to share with you all. But you want to do a deep dive. You want to find where all your money is going. Maybe you've been on the treadmill. Maybe you've just been going so busy. You've been working so much and you have your first break, your first ability to just look at where it's all going. And you'll find a whole lot of money just going everywhere. You want to identify all your different spending and your income streams, guys. I wrote that wrong. Look for money leaks and wastes. Look for recurring monthly expenses. Maybe, What if you subscribe to some stupid app that's just drawing money out of your account and you've forgotten about it? You want to find all of those things. You need to identify where all the money is going. And you want to do this with your partner. You can't just do this with yourself. The second step is developing a spending strategy, not really a budget. You want to develop it for the next year, just the strategy and an approach to where your money is going to go. Sit down with your partner and plan where every dollar is going. Take a big picture approach. And Dave Ramsey has the every dollar budget. Scott Pape has his buckets methods. I think they're quite good. You kind of want to have ballpark figures. Okay, we got this much we have to spend on this. Food's going here, there's there. Plan it out, even just so you have an idea. Use the multiple bank accounts if you have to. That can work. Anything to make this easier for you. Implement systems to help you get there. Monthly Excel tracking, guys. Ramsey's every dollar budgets, Pape's buckets approach. Create an emergency fund and then focus on debt. Those are things to focus on, guys. You want to make sure you need to have the creation of an emergency fund in your spending strategy. I'm not using the word budget because people, you'll get so anal about it. It's not going to work for a lot of people having a budget. Number 3, the third step is to attack your debts. If you've gotten this situation where you need to borrow $200 from a before pay, or you're having to sell your goods and items to make ends meet, you shouldn't have any debts. If you do, you need to get rid of them because that's reducing your cash flow. It's having a big impact on it. Reducing and eliminating debts should be a top priority for everyone. Carrying debt also, it increases your day-to-day stress more than you might realize. Once you've paid off some debts, if all you have is the mortgage, or even if you've got the mortgage gone, if you're debt-free, just the weight off your back is crazy. And then you'd be shocked at how little money you need to just live a comfortable life. You don't need to be a bloody millionaire. You just need to have enough FU money that you can do what you want when you want. You can take the projects that you want to. You can cut down your hours at the work that you have. You can start that own business that you want. That's the trick. Now, there's 2 strategies to do this. And there's the debt snowball technique and the avalanche technique. Now, the snowball technique is step 1, you identify all your debts. You sit down and you write them out. Step 2 is you make minimum repayments on everything. Step 3, you pay extra money on the smallest debt, the smallest value debt. So if you've got a debt of $10,500, you attack the $500 one. This is about getting a psychological victory and starting to feel proud about achieving stuff. You want that positive feedback. Then after that, you move on to the next smallest one and you repeat until you're debt free. Now, this isn't going to be the most cost efficient way to do it because you ignore interest entirely. You just look on the value amounts of the debts. I think this is the best way to do it because you're going to get wins. You're going to get positive wins. It's fantastic. This is kind of what we did before I even realized any of these existed. So there you go. The next is the avalanche technique. Now, this is different. This is probably the most cost-effective way to do it. It's identify all your debts again, and you pay extra on the highest interest debt. So if you've got one debt that has 5% interest, but it's only $500, but you have a $10,000 debt that has 20% interest, you go the $10,000 debt first because it's got the higher interest rate. So it's smarter for getting the best bang for your buck, but it often will take longer to get the same psychological impact. So depending on your personality, you've got to think about which approach is better for you. So move on to the next highest interest rate, pay the minimum on all debts, and repeat until the debt is paid off. Now, both Pape and both Ramsey recommend strategies for paying off debt. That's a big part of it because you don't want to be a slave to the bank. You don't want to be in debt your whole life. You don't want to have credit card debts. You want to get rid of the credit cards. I've got one just because I'm too lazy. I think $500 limit, and if I need more, I put more money on it. I probably should get rid of it. I really will. That'll be my goal for this year, is just to get rid of it when I can be bothered. So, number 4, this is important, is to track your cash flow. You want to review your cash flow on a monthly basis at a minimum. Now, you want to review your spending, where your income's coming in, where your debt's coming in, to see where the money is flowing. Particularly if you have a business, we're small business owners here, and you'll have money coming in big chunks, you'll have to stretch it out further. So you kind of need to have a handle on where things are. You should even project it out to a year so you know what your tax bill is going to be for a year. Even if it's off a bit, you want to at least have some money sitting aside so it's going to be easier. Don't be afraid to divide the work if you're in a relationship. Rachel tracks the cash flow in Excel while I focus on the investments and generating income. That's how we divide and conquer. And it gives her a good handle about what's going on as well. She needs to know where the money is all going, track it all and everything, and see it, not just leave it in the husband's hands. Because what if I were to die? She needs to be able to find where everything is and take control. And you need to work together in a partnership if you're a husband and wife team. Though I don't understand why couples have separate bank accounts. Sure, I guess, it doesn't really matter anyway if you get divorced or if it all goes down the gurgler. Now, if you stray on your strategy, if you stuff up, you have a tough month, don't shoot yourself. Stick with it, guys. You want to stick with it. Now, number 5, the 5th one, is generate a passive income. This is more a long-term goal. The other guys will give you strategic advice about putting some into super, doing this. I think just generally, you want to do all that, but you also want to build up additional income streams. You want to diversify your income streams to generate passive income. We saw people using hobbies or other skills they had to create other income streams, and that helped them get out of tough times. And it reduces your stress level as well. So if you're in a stressful situation, maybe your job's hours are cut, but you've got something to fall back on, that's good. I'd start small. Aim for just a few dollars per week and grow from there. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. You don't want that, because then you'll be afraid of if something's going wrong, and it'll influence how you behave. Some examples: rent out your own equipment. We've got a laser scanner. I set up another business to rent it out. Some months I'll make nothing on it. Some months I'll make a couple of $1,000s on it. And over the year it all adds up, and that's just equipment that I bought for my business that I need to use, so I can rent it out to other people. There you go. You'd be surprised what you can earn money for. We had a nice SLR camera that we used to rent from a camera shop just for our, $50 for the day. There you go, guys. You want to think about things that you have, particularly in your business, that you can leverage to make other income streams. Dividend investing, monthly dividend shares. I'm a fan of that, everyone. I just find it fun, and that's the strategy that I'm using with my pocket money investing, just building up little stacks, a few dollars a week here, $10, $20, $50. You want to build it up. Hey, it all adds up. Everything you can get coming in is a bonus. And you can start small, guys. You can start really small. I think, $100 you can buy some shares in a company that will pay you a little bit every month. Oh, no, it's 80 cents. Yeah, that's the first one. You track it. That's the thing. You want to track your growth. And you see, okay, in a year's time, boom, you're making $50 a month that you wouldn't have otherwise. And you've got now an asset that has value. That's how you want to think about it. You want to get into that habit. Crypto mining. Now, I put that on here because if you have computer equipment lying around that's not earning you any money and you can do it profitably, why not? Now, as I've said in previous videos, I mine crypto. Everyone, I've got graphics cards that can do it because I need it for work. And I just liquidate it instantly and turn it all into shares every month. So that's part of my pocket money investing. My crypto mined Ethereum will get flipped into some AGL shares or some Kathmandu shares, and then they'll start earning me a dividend over time, and I won't worry about it. I've got more faith in real companies than in crypto. That's the situation I'm at now, and I'm not a fan of the volatility. I'm not trading it. I'm looking to invest it. Maybe if I really wanted to get into it and start at the day trade, sure, but that's not my risk profile. I don't have the time. Creating online content, guys. Become a YouTuber. Create content there. The advertising money may not be the bee's knees, but it can open up opportunities. It can introduce you to other people. And I mean, if you're out of work or you want to try and shift into something else, it can be a good way to practice some skills. And it's actually a little harder than you think. Not the content I produce, but good content. I mean, real estate, everyone, as well. I mean, this is Australia. I can't mention passive income without real estate. I mean, all of these things, when we say passive income, let's just say the time you devote to it isn't as much as other things. You will have to devote time to it. Real estate, that can come later in your life, or you can even invest in real estate through real estate investment trusts on the stock market. I kind of prefer that, to be honest. And I mean, you've also got online content where people are selling, drop shipping things and stuff like that. Be careful with that. There are a lot of people, I think they make more money in the courses on how to do it than in actually doing it now, because Amazon is a competitor against itself. But so these are the 5 things, everyone, that I suggest. Number 1, complete a financial deep dive. Know where your money's going. Look for leaks. Develop a spending strategy over a year. Track where your money's going. Planning where it's going. Attack your debts. Get rid of that debt, guys. use the snowball technique or the avalanche technique, depending on where you are. I wish I had have learned about this years ago. Track your cash flow, guys. You need to track it every month and look at generating a passive income. Now, I want to give you some additional watching or reading. Dave Ramsey, he's an American radio host. He's really anti-debt. Have a look at his debt-free screams on his show. He's a Southern religious American guy. He's not the best boss, depending on who you watch about him. But I quite like his content, and I quite like hearing the success stories of people. That's what you want to hear, people that have done it. I mean, when they talk about their mortgages in the US, I paid off 120 grand. You're thinking, bloody hell, that's a deposit in Australia. So keep that in mind. And the other one I'd recommend is The Barefoot Investor from Scott Pape, leader of Australia's biggest financial cult. There's a lot of crossover between these two guys in what they're saying. It's a lot of it is tried and true methods. Pape is more Australian focused. If you're Australian, you want to look at it, I would recommend you go through his stuff. I decided, because I've read a few of his articles and talked about him now, and then I actually read his book yesterday. I picked it up from Officeworks for $19. Just went through it in one day. It's a good book. He's got some good advice, some good strategies for people there. And, I would recommend that one to you as well, if you're interested in it. And also look up the Barefoot Investor cartoon. Someone has made a bloody funny cartoon just poking fun at it, guys. That's what I would recommend. So, guys, let's thank you all for watching this episode. And, well, I'll put references to this and to the articles in the comments, pinned comments down below. If you want to help the channel, there are a few ways you can. You can sign up for SelfWealth or Stake. Use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy our merch as well, guys. If you sign up for SelfWealth, that helps me directly with my pocket money investing. We each get 5 free share trades that, sure, they only last a month, but, hey, that's $50 worth of trades that I can use to help flip my plastic bottles and scrap metal into shares. There's a suggestion as well, guys. And take care. And we'll check out this other video here. I want to get you to watch this one about a carton of smokes. How much a carton of smokes can get you for a mortgage. It's just insane. You've got to get off those habits, guys. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.